Hello, thanks so much for joining me, astrologer Patrick Arundel. Today I'm going to do a deep dive into the Leo new moon, which occurs on the 19th of August 2020 at 2:42 a.m. Universal Central Time. Now what I'm going to do is share the event chart with you, so you can see not just the implications of the full moon itself, but all the other planetary angles, which are going to provide a backdrop in the following month. But also, I'm going to give a sign-by-sign forecast, starting with Aries, all the way through to Pisces. So please stay with me for that. But thank you so much for joining me. If you're new to my channel, I'd be honoured if you'd subscribe. Please click or tap on the bell notification symbol. Also, you can join me on Twitter at HoroscopeAce. It'd be lovely to have you along. You can download your free natal chart beneath this video, or you can join Elisa and I for the daily astrology and tarot video show, which is proving great fun. Please see the link below too. And you can grab your free daily written horoscope every single day. So here we are. We're starting this event, and it's an exciting time because, of course, the sun in the sign of Leo is the zodiac sign that it governs. But it's in the last 10 degrees of the sign of Leo at 26 degrees, and that has a sub-ruler, and that sub-ruler is Mars. Now 26 degrees in Leo also sees the sun forging a beautiful trine, which is very enabling with Mars, which is in its dignity in the sign of Aries. So that's terrific. That gives us a sense of optimism, of drive, of determination. It's a very energizing link. The fire signs that they're both located in are very much to do with a sense of urgency, a sense of initiation. Mars in Aries can be about getting things off the ground, and of course the sun in Leo is very grand and charismatic. So together with the decan, which the sun is located in, which is governed by Mars, then we have an enormous opportunity to really power forwards. But what are the catches? Well, the cluster of energy in the cardinal sign of Capricorn, which is about tradition, responsibilities, obligations and worldly interactions, is actually in a square, Saturn and Pluto at least, with Mars. Now Mars and Saturn in a right angle can create a sense of restriction and limitation. It can throw up some obstacles. With Pluto in the mix, we can talk about the potential for people to act quite ruthlessly in order to get what they want from situations. Now the sun on the other side of the heavens is actually in a quincunx with Saturn and Pluto, 150 degrees, which itself is not particularly enabling. So this is a complex new moon. There is the opportunity to really thrust forwards, be very dynamic, but there is also the potential for some complications. So let's have a look at that event chart wheel and see what else it tells us. So here we are. This is the event chart wheel. So there you can see the sun 26 degrees 35 and the moon 26:35, both in Leo, but we also have Mercury quite close as well. So what we can take from this new moon is that the need to communicate is going to be an important feature. Also, the Dward, the 12th harmonic of this particular full moon, is governed or influenced by Aquarius, the opposite sign to Leo. So I just feel that that reminds us of the need to be conscious of whatever we do, its impact on everyone else, the collective, which is very much Aquarius energy. Now up here we have Mars, and on this chart based on Greenwich Universal Central Time, you can see Mars is in the 10th house, and the 10th house is very much to do with how we interact with the world at large. It can be influential people, it can be our ambitions, goals, and Uranus is in this 10th house as well. Now Uranus is forging a very positive link with Venus, suggesting that we shouldn't be fearful of trying new approaches to anything really, but particularly perhaps relationships or the interests we have in the arts, or even the way we dress, because Venus can influence that. So Uranus there is asking us to be a bit braver about how we present ourselves. But Mars in the 10th house and the Sun and the Moon in the 2nd house is very positive for more material considerations. Now on the other side of the heavens, this cluster of influences, the posse as I call them in Capricorn, are all in the 6th house, which is to do with life's practicalities and details, and it can be to do with work. I think in general we'd all agree that this year has not just been demanding in terms of the impact of COVID and the terrible loss and devastation that it's wreaked, but also the wider economic impact too. And I think that this particular chart is giving us all really a big push to be as productive and as hard working as possible over the next month. New moon energy, particularly in Leo, which is very dramatic, is about being creative essentially, and with Mars in support and the dward of Aquarius, and also Mars being the governing influence of the decan that this particular new moon occurs in other words the last 10 degrees of Leo, it's all about action. But with Mars high in the sky, we can't dominate situations and we can't expect things to be only on our terms, because if that happens, the clash that's going on between Mars and Saturn will create conflict. So in other words, we have to collaborate. And because the horizon has changed, shifted so hugely with the impact of COVID, we can't automatically expect things to be the same as they were before. Now, because Mars is also in a square with Pluto, as I mentioned before, this can lead to quite ruthless and dominating behaviour. So if you encounter someone who wants everything on their terms, you might have to push back against that. But the Sun and the Moon are also in a direct quincunx, particularly with Saturn. And I think it's just really worth understanding what a quincunx is. It's 150 degrees, and it's where the two influences involved don't seem to coexist very easily. There's a lack of kind of unifying energy. So the Sun in Leo is very much about attracting attention, where Saturn, in which it governs, Saturn being in the sign of Capricorn, is all about the finer details. So we may therefore have to work extremely hard in order to execute the drama and more flamboyant energies that Mars and the Sun and the Moon, along with Mercury, are giving us the opportunity to showcase. But it is interesting that we do have Mars, the Sun and Saturn all in their home zones. So they're all in their dignities. So this is a real cardinal moment, angular moment. These planets are to do with power, they're to do with Mars and the cluster of energy in Capricorn. They are to do with how we manifest our authority, and we just need to manifest our authority in as productive a way as possible. Now there's a more peaceful link between Neptune and Jupiter, which has been going on for some time, asking us to connect with our more spiritual and higher selves, to deal with some of the stresses and strains that we're experiencing. We do have in this particular day chart the part of fortune. This is known as Arabic lots on the ascendant, suggesting, I think, even though it's just tucked up in the 12th house, that if we use our instincts but in a creative way, that can be positive. And then Chiron, the comet, which is very much to do with our vulnerabilities, that's conjunct the midheaven, very close to the surface. So if we do have any weaknesses about knowledge, which is the 9th house, this particular position of Chiron, particularly in its square with Venus, is asking us to get more informed, particularly about how we relate to other people. We might also find out about something to do with a relationship which surprises us in the next month. But if we do, and even if it is a bit of an uncomfortable truth, it's probably better to be out in the open. But essentially, a Leo new moon is about the biggest, warmest gush of extra energy we can possibly have. And this one is supported by the fabulous drive of Mars, but we just need to temper that with an understanding that that cluster of energy in Saturn does point towards some potential politics, some push and pull, and therefore not everything can just be in terms of what we crave and desire, which is very much Leo energy, about enjoying ourselves. We have to actually shape that in a way which is meaningful for this new reality that we're currently faced with. Aries, you can really be in go-getting form over the next 4 weeks. There's so much to go for. It's fantastic. Because Mars, your ruler in your own sign, is very much about you tuning into your instincts, and then its angle through to the sun in your 5th solar house. It's very much about a creative flourish. Now, it's true that posse of influences in the 10th house is very much about your responsibilities and obligations. So if you are trying to make progress towards a goal or ambition, you may have to modulate some of your expectations, because what you encounter could be someone else's powerful expectations or willpower, and they may not ally exactly to what you want to achieve. But whether it's about your love life or it is about those more worldly interactions, what this is going to give you, this set of influences, is enormous charisma, sex appeal, and it's a great opportunity to live in the moment, something that's become very difficult to do at times this year. But if anyone can do it over the next month, it's going to be you, and you can approach this time with real gusto, extra confidence and conviction. Now, Taurus, this full moon for you happens in the 4th house, which is very much to do with home, hearth and family, your emotional fabric and foundations and environment. But Mars is tucked away in a very psychological area, your 12th house. Is there something from your past that does still need looking at? I think it's possible that over the next month you could find yourself thinking very carefully about someone from your past. Information that comes to the surface can come through Pluto, particularly in your 9th house, and if something does come up and you need to talk about it, even if it is a painful subject, I think ventilating it can actually be really cathartic. But if you kind of try and resist anything that is stirring in your subconscious, it could make you feel very on edge and irritable and quite defensive. So even if you're someone who finds it quite difficult to air perhaps some of your vulnerabilities or to talk about them, if there is a trusted confidence that you can open up to, I feel that that will be very cathartic and a very healthy thing to do. Now, if you're in a much better phase of your situation, this is a wonderful time to be planning things perhaps behind the scenes. And it's possible that you may be doing quite a lot of research in order to rebuild some part of your existence. And if you were making some physical changes to your home, it really wouldn't be a surprise. Gemini, well, the new moon in your 3rd solar house is an echo of the natural energy you have. This is going to give you huge amounts of extra dynamism and physical vitality and energy. And one of the areas that you may want to demonstrate this around is joining up with the people you really love to be with. It could be some new connections are developing in terms of your affections, or it could be around interests or group activities. So friendships is an area that is likely to be very much in focus. But on the other side of the heavens, when it comes to your business interests, I think having a great idea or having conviction alone is not going to be enough. So there could be the need to sort of really do some very deep research and really grapple with the underlying fundamentals in a situation, but you're certainly not going to be lacking in sparkle and vivacity over this next month. So enjoy every minute. Now, Cancer, the new moon for you is in your 2nd solar house of resources. This can supercharge that, and with Mars in a very prominent location, you have a fabulous opportunity to use your natural authority in a very productive way. On the other side of the heavens, however, is that clustering of energy in Capricorn, and that's, as I mentioned before, interacting with both the new moon and also Mercury in a more straining way, and of course squaring with Mars. Quite simply, don't force it too quickly. If there is something that you're wanting to initiate, make progress towards, it's going to take patience, and it's going to take cooperation and collaboration. And if you're open to that and you can work well with others, there's a lot to be gained over the next 4 weeks. Now Leo, this is your special new moon. It only comes around once a year, and it's all about really taking it as a platform to launch all that's good, fresh, enthusiastic about you. And because Mars is in that location, in that trine, which is very enabling, I think this is going to give you a real desire to break out of any limitations that you may have been experiencing. And the limitations come from the cluster of energy in your 6th solar house, where we have all those Capricornian influences. Because Saturn and Pluto there are squaring with Mars, it's not going to be a stroll in the park. So I think you do have to really be clear about your targets. If you have a very identifiable strand that you want to focus on, and you can really narrow your focus, you're going to achieve so much. But if you're trying to please everybody, or getting distracted, or trying to spin too many plates, you're not going to make the most of this new moon in your sign. So it may mean that you're going to need to be really quite single-minded. That doesn't mean that you're going to be selfish. It means you're going to focus on what's really right for you at the bottom of your being. And if there's something that's really exciting you and switching you on, as long as you organise things and explain things to the others that perhaps have become a little bit too dependent upon you, this is a fabulous opportunity for you to strut your stuff and show people just how fabulous you are. And that may include giving yourself a glamorous new makeover too. Now Virgo, this new moon occurs in a very psychological area, the 12th house, and with Mars also in the 8th house, which is very much about what's hidden. Wow, fascinating stuff. But that cluster of energy in Capricorn in your sister Earth sign makes me wonder, is it around your love life that you're having some deep thinking or some reflection at the moment? It wouldn't be a surprise. Or perhaps if you're a very creative Virgo and you want to manifest some talents in a new business, that can also be an area that you're thinking very deeply about. This can be a time where you take deep soundings about what other people might feel or think or can contribute. And it's a time of preparation essentially, and once the sun moves into your sign later this month, then you can start to build up the head of steam to take on what's ever ruminating at the moment. Now Libra, this new moon occurs in your sector of friendship, future hopes, and of course Mars in your opposite sign is in your sector of relating. So where you have good collaboration with others, there's a fantastic opportunity for progress. But because of the collection of energy in the sign of Capricorn, your emotional situation, or where you live, how much support you have, or how much personal confidence you have, can be critical to how well you're going to do in the outer world. But certainly your natural ability to work well with others can be a real asset at the moment. And if the foundations in your situation are well grounded and well established, this can be a chance for you to really flourish marvellously over the next month. Now Scorpio, this new moon occurs in a beautiful part of your situation in terms of your work, worldly interactions and ambitions. And with your traditional ruler of Mars in such a productive part of your situation in terms of being able to work very hard, diligently, and with a great deal of energy, I think something could transform for you over the next month. And it could be around your ability to communicate. And you can be a very positive communicator. You can have a lot of conviction, but sometimes your natural desire to stay behind the scenes, or to be quite a shy person in some ways, can hold you back. But I feel this can be a time when all your hard work and all your application can start to get the plaudits and recognition that it really deserves. But you must consider that not everybody necessarily will agree with how you do things, and if that is the case, be open to flex a bit, because if you take a fixed position, it could snatch a victory, away a victory just when you're poised to grab it. Now, Sagittarius, having the new moon in the 9th house ordinarily would see you jetting off somewhere exotic, or certainly accessing your imagination to the maximum, because the 9th solar house is all about expanding our boundaries, being much more independent minded, and that swashbuckling side of your nature could really sparkle in the following month. And it still can, because Mars is in a glorious alliance with this new moon, and so you're going to be giving out a very attractive energy, and your love of knowledge, philosophy, history, along with travel, can be something that really sets you apart. But the gathering of energy in Capricorn points towards the fact that money can still be a bit of a touch and go issue, or is it your sense of self-worth you need to continue to work at? Now, Capricorn, with that clustering of energy in your sign, your need to really control situations as an individual is probably quite strong, but don't let that be so strong that it stops you showing a flourish in a much more creative way. Remember, Uranus is in your 5th house, and that's really giving you a platform, a stage to shine if you're prepared to take some risks and be a bit more natural and just go with the flow, not be so guarded. But there's no denying that Mars is in a very tender location, the 4th house. This can make you a bit defensive, and with the new moon in an area that's to do with transformation in a more psychological sense, there may be something that is just ripe to alter, but you may try to grip hard to the tiller of the direction of this situation because it makes you feel more secure. Actually, if you can just let go, just see where it leads, it could change some fundamentals in your world, especially to do with where you live, how you live there, and who with. But it can bring through a more enriching period, which is going to manifest itself in the last 10 days of this month. Now, as we move to Aquarius, the penultimate sign of the zodiac, Aquarius energy, of course, has a duality to it. There is the traditional rulership of Saturn, the love of tradition, things being fairly well established, the fixed energy of Aquarius. And then there's the more dramatic, more innovative, shocking, unpredictable side of your nature that comes from Uranus. Well, Mars is in a brilliant location for you because it's about your thoughts, your actions can be quick, and also with the new moon and also Mercury in your sector of relating, a new relationship, a new connection can emerge over the next 4 weeks. Now, this might not be of a romantic kind. It may be with a new business associate, it may be a new job, colleagues that you get to know, or maybe you're starting a new business and you're finding new customers. But your ability to enthusiastically express yourself is going to be very much to your advantage. But that posse of influences in Capricorn can still bring up some old stuff, old pain, old inhibitions if you let them. If you can hold them to you, work with them, be conscious of them, but still thrust forwards in a dynamic way, this new moon can be absolutely glorious for you right through to the middle of September. So have maximum self-belief. Now, finally, but not least, the lovely Pisces. You, of course, have 2 rulers, the misty, rather ephemeral influence of Neptune, and the glorious, upbeat, expansive, but spiritual Jupiter. Now, the location of Mars for you is in your sector of resources, but also it can influence how you feel about yourself, your self-worth. The sun's in a very practical area. It's about hard work, discipline, application to the details, and you may make some changes over the next 4 weeks to what you eat and drink. Your nutritional input can become more serious to you, and if because of COVID it's been more difficult to do any physical activities, hopefully wherever you are personally located, that will be less challenging over this next month. The cluster of energy in Capricorn for you is all about your long-term future or about your more spiritual values. Sometimes in life we have to make trades. We rarely can get absolutely everything as we want, and of course some people approach life, and I have the greatest of respect for them, and don't make those trades. They just stick absolutely to what feels right, and of course that's what we all want to do at heart. But you know, at the end of the day we have to work. Sometimes there are parts of our work we don't enjoy, or sometimes we may have to do studies when we're tired. There's always a little bit of a fly in an ointment somewhere in life, and if you can just accept those imperfections and focus on those practical details, you're really establishing a very workable pattern that can bring you lots of rewards, particularly in terms of your interactions with others once the sun moves into Virgo later this month. So that concludes all 12 zodiac sign forecasts for this glorious new moon in the sign of Leo. If you would like to ascend above your zodiac sign and discover real astrology, why not check out my affordable range of personal horoscope reports by clicking the link beneath this video. You can get 30% off a year's forecast and a character analysis, or you can choose to have a one-to-one personal consultation with me. Please see my testimonials below. But for now, take care, stay safe, good luck, and happy Leo new moon.